Yatra Vishvam Bhavatyeka Needam, Yatra Sarvam Shivamayam, Tam Namami Mahadevam, Nirvikaram Niranjanam. What if the greatest obstacles in life were not punishments but protections? And what if the moments that break us are sometimes the very moments transforming us? And what if the spiritual path is not really about escaping the world, but about seeing the deeper intelligence quietly moving through it all? As the Linga Purāṇa moves through the final portions of the Uttara Bhāga, the stories become increasingly mystical, inward, and spiritually profound. What begins as mythology slowly unfolds into something much deeper, a vision of consciousness itself. The Purana no longer speaks only about gods, demons, rituals, or cosmic events. It begins speaking about the inner life of the soul, the devotion, ego, suffering, transformation, surrender, and liberation. After the sacred union of Mahadev and Mata Parvati, the Linga Purāṇa reveals the reunion of Lord Shiva and Shakti, which is consciousness and divine energy moving as one reality. From this union emerges Lord Gaṇeśa. But his birth here carries a meaning far deeper than the familiar stories most people know. Gaṇapati, Lord Gaṇeśa, is not presented merely as the remover of obstacles. He becomes the divine intelligence behind obstacles themselves. The Devas approach Mahadev because sacred power is being misused and cosmic balance is beginning to collapse. In response, Lord Shiva manifests Gaṇeśa as the guardian of dharma and inner alignment. And quietly, the Linga Purāṇa reveals something most human beings spend their entire lives struggling to understand. Not every obstacle is meant to destroy us. Some obstacles protect us from paths that would deepen ignorance, pride, imbalance, or suffering. Some delays redirect us towards something truer, and some closed doors prevent greater disorder from unfolding later. Mahadev specifically instructs Lord Gaṇeśa to place obstacles before actions performed without humility, sincerity, awareness, or alignment to dharma. The symbolism here is incredibly profound. Before any true beginning can happen, the ego itself must bow. That is why Lord Gaṇeśa is worshipped first. Not because of any superstition, but because spiritual life begins the moment arrogance softens into awareness. The Linga Purāṇa then moves into one of its most mystical and powerful revelations, the Tāṇḍava of Mahadev. The worlds begin trembling under the violence and arrogance of the demon Daruka. Like even the Devas become very powerless before the chaos unfolding across existence. But before the divine responds outwardly, something deeply symbolic happens inwardly. Mata Parvati enters into Lord Shiva himself. And the quiet revelation that Shiva and Shakti are never truly separate. Consciousness and energy, silence and creation, stillness and movement are not two realities. They are one eternal existence appearing in different forms. And from this union emerges Ma Kālī. But Ma Kālī is born from the poison held within Mahadev's throat and from the fire of his third eye. This imagery carries immense spiritual depth. The poison represents all the darkness hidden within existence. The poisons like rage, suffering, grief, destruction, violence, fear, and chaos. Yet Mahadev does not reject the poison. He holds it, he contains it, he transforms it. And from that conscious containment, divine power emerges. The Linga Purāṇa is now pointing toward a truth that deeply relevant even now. Transformation does not happen by denying darkness. It happens by becoming conscious enough to hold it without allowing it to consume the soul. Kālī destroys Dwaruka, the demon. Yet, afterward, her fury becomes so immense that the universe itself begins trembling beneath it. And here, the Linga Purāṇa once again enters one of its most beautiful and spiritually moving moments. Mahadev does not calm her through force. He calms her through love. Mahadev takes a form of a small child lying within the cremation ground and begins to cry. Kālī, who moments earlier embodied terrifying destruction, suddenly becomes filled with motherly tenderness. She lifts the child, embraces him, kisses him, and nurses him lovingly. But the child is Mahadev himself. And while drinking her milk, he quietly observes her rage as well. The symbolism is extraordinary. Some forms of pain cannot be healed through conflict, and some forms of darkness dissolve only through compassion, and some storms calm only when met with presence and love. And only after Kālī's anger subsides does Mahadev begin the Tāṇḍava. And this is deeply important. Lord Shiva's dance does not arise from rage. It arises after transformation. He dances amidst cremation grounds, spirits, ghosts, and the remains of all that the world clings to. The cremation ground itself becomes symbolic of spiritual awakening. The very place where ego, identity, attachment, pride, and illusion eventually dissolve. And it is there, in that middle of impermanence itself, that Mahadev dances in total freedom. The Tāṇḍava is not merely destruction, it is the rhythm of existence itself, birth and death, creation, dissolution, stillness and movement, silence and sound, ending and beginning, all flowing together endlessly within the same cosmic movement. The Linga Purāṇa even says that Lord Shiva dances from the bliss of yoga itself, the absolute freedom within existence. And after revealing these vast cosmic truths, the Purana suddenly turns towards something incredibly intimate and human, the story of Upamanyu, a child crying for milk. That is how one of the deepest stories begins. Upamanyu watches another child drinking milk, while he himself remains deprived. His mother, unable to provide any nourishment, prepares an imitation made from ground seeds and water. But the child immediately recognizes the difference. And through the simple moment, a quiet revelation, another profound truth is revealed. Nothing false can fully satisfy the soul. Sometimes we as human beings spend our lives trying to fill inner emptiness through wealth, recognition, pleasure, and temporary comforts. Yet something within us, deep within us, always knows the difference between imitation and truth. When Upamanyu's mother tells him that true fulfillment ultimately comes only through the grace of Mahadev, Upamanyu's entire being turns toward Lord Shiva. And what makes his devotion extraordinary is its purity. He does not seek power, he does not seek fame, he does not even seek liberation. He seeks and seeks only for Mahadev himself. The Linga Purāṇa repeatedly reveals that true devotion is not intellectual. It is not a performance. It is not external ritual alone. It is the complete inward sincerity. And then comes one of the most profound spiritual tests. Lord Shiva himself appears before Upamanyu, disguised as Lord Indra, and attempts to pull him away from devotion through temptation and worldly promises. Symbolically, this represents the endless distractions that pull our consciousness away from its deepest truth. But Upamanyu refuses completely. Even when offered every blessing imaginable, he only chose the closeness to Mahadev. And again, the Linga Purāṇa reveals one of its deepest teachings. Desire asks the divine for things, and devotion asks only for the divine itself. When Lord Shiva finally reveals his true form, the child who once cried for a cup of milk suddenly finds himself surrounded by oceans of nourishment, abundance, sweetness, beauty. But even that is not the greatest blessing. Mahadev and Mata Parvati accept him as their own. The longing for nourishment becomes fulfilled through divine nearness itself. And then, through the Pāśupata path, the Linga Purāṇa reveals yet another profound truth about humility and liberation. Even Lord Krishna approaches Upamanyu as a disciple in order to receive the Pāśupata initiation. And that means even the divine incarnate bows before wisdom. Covered in sacred ash, Lord Krishna symbolizes the deeper purpose of the spiritual path itself. Ash is what remains after everything false has been burned away. The ego, pride, attachment, identity, and illusion. The spiritual journey is not about becoming spiritually important. It is about becoming inwardly free. The Pāśupata path reveals that liberation begins the moment consciousness loosens its attachment to the temporary, and then it slowly returns toward its eternal source. Again and again, the Linga Purāṇa keeps pointing toward the same truth through different stories and symbols. Lord Gaṇeśa reveals that obstacles themselves may become sacred guidance. Ma Kālī reveals that darkness can be transformed through awareness and love. And Mahadev's Tāṇḍava reveals that destruction and creation belong to the same eternal rhythm. Upamanyu reveals that beneath every worldly desire hides the soul's deeper longing for truth. And the Pāśupata path reveals that humility, surrender, and purification slowly dissolve the bondage of the ego itself. Life will always contain uncertainty, endings, transformation, suffering. The entire identities collapse, the paths close unexpectedly, and the worlds within us dissolve and are rebuilt again and again. But beneath all of it, the Linga Purāṇa suggests there remains a deeper intelligence silently guiding consciousness toward awakening. What appears painful from one level of awareness may become to a much greater harmony beyond the understanding of the mind. And through it all, Mahadev remains, utterly still within movement itself, dancing within creation, while forever remaining beyond it. And with this, we come to the end of the Uttara Bhāga of the Linga Purāṇa, a journey through devotion, transformation, surrender, dissolution, and the deepest mysteries of consciousness itself. In our next video, we will begin the Purva Bhāga of the Linga Purāṇa and enter yet another profound unfolding of Mahadev's eternal wisdom. May Jagat Pita Mahadev bless us all. Keep seeking, keep chanting, keep surrendering. Om Namah Shivaya.